Well, hello, Mavericks. This is Rob Reinhold. It is June 28th. I cannot believe that the summer is almost a third over. That is absolutely depressing. But here we are at the end of June. We have a couple more days before we close the books on the month of June, and that will really close out the first 6 months of 2022. This year's been flying by, and it's been great trading. I'm so happy that currency trading is really back here. So let's take a look at what happened today. And today was just a big, nasty reversal candle in the equity markets. And we really saw big tech being sold. Amazon got a downgrade. They were punished. Apple, Microsoft, everyone in that space just took a big hit. And that is a big part of the indexes right now. Like the S&P 500, if you take out like 5 or 6 stocks, those 5 or 6 stocks account for like 30% of the entire index. And today, those stocks got hit really hard. S&P down 2, world index only down 1.5. Crypto continues to be terrible. There's nowhere to hide here. We've said that crypto was bottomless at this point, and it continues to prove us right. Gold down a little bit, and oil had a very nice up day today. So let's take a look at where we are in the S&P. Now you can see here as I draw this line, 3,900, somewhere between 3,900, 3,950, there was some resistance. And we came right up to that level yesterday, hit that level, and then this candle is just a nasty, nasty candle. Now this is a very, very classic bear rally pattern where we made a new low, bounced back up, came up to that level, and hit our head against it. If this market doesn't recover tomorrow, it is in some real trouble. We are actually looking at maybe piercing below that 3650, not this week, but probably in the next couple weeks. This is very critical for this market to bounce here. Checking in on the VT, the world index, you can see about the same thing. It bounced a little bit higher than its resistance line, right around the $87 to $88, but same thing. Nasty candle. We had a little bit of a run in the morning, and then we close on our lows. So if this doesn't recover tomorrow and put in a green candle, if it's another red candle tomorrow, I think you've got to take a look at that 83.50 area and say that's likely going to be broken on the next run down. Over to cryptos. There's been nothing good about cryptos, no good news, and there's no good news at this point. As you can see here, a low base forming. Likely we're going to break down below this 9,000. Again, this is the crypto basket equally measured. Just cryptocurrencies as a whole just look really, really bad here. So we were at a -3 for the month, but this week we thought we were going to get a little bit more upside. And I've got to say that after today's candle, I really have to downgrade this to more of a -1. I am still not sold that we aren't going to chop around here at these levels. But I cannot ignore this candle today. This candle was a big down move today. And we have to at least say, okay, maybe this is the tide has turned from that bullish bounce we saw now to this bearish move lower. If this gets weaker tomorrow, I'm going to have to downgrade equities to a -2. And then all of a sudden, a lot of the trades we've been looking at no longer make some sense. But we'll take a look at those trades here in a second. As far as the calendar goes, we do have some OPEC meetings. I do not know when or if they are making announcements. That's something you should check. Canadian dollar obviously is going to be the one that's the most affected by that. But I do think that the market is moving on oil, the equity markets. When equity markets were doing the best is when oil was down to 105 per barrel. Now we're back up to like 115 and the equity markets are struggling. I think if oil sells off, I think it's actually going to be good for equities and good for risk on currencies. As you can see, not a whole lot this week. Next week is 4th of July week. Next week, we get the RBA, we get the U.S. payrolls report. Much busier week next week on the news announcements. So let's go in and check on these currencies. Let's take a look at these and where they score. Yesterday, Ankit went through it, and basically he ranked everything in the middle, with the CAD showing a little bit of strength, the euro showing a little bit of strength, and the yen showing weakness. But pretty much everything was just a kind of a wait and see, let's see what happens. Now, crypto, we did see a big fall, and you can see that there was selling across the board. The things that did the best last week did the worst today. So Solana had a big run last week. It turned down. Litecoin outperformed. It's now underperforming. It's basically nowhere to hide in cryptos. take a look at foreign currency, you can see the best currency over the last 24 hours was the US dollar, followed by the CAD. So that CAD continues to show some relative strength. The worst currency was the Kiwi, followed by the pound and the yen. We're going to take a look at all these trends. We're going to take a look at these currencies and say, okay, which one of these trends is likely to continue and which one is likely to reverse. Let's take a look at all these on a velocity score. Now, I took a trade in Swiss franc yen earlier this week, just barely got knocked about an hour or two ago out of the trade. Made 50 pips. It was a decent trade, nothing all that special. So let's take a look at everything from cryptocurrency down to foreign currency. And I'm just going to start at Bitcoin. And I'm going to go through these very quickly because you can see here, there's nothing good. EMA is sloping down, parabolic star sloping down, RSI sloping down. That is a -3. And if we go through all the other cryptos, you can see they are -3s across the board. Bitcoin Cash, -3. Ethereum, let's call it a -2.5. It still looks pretty terrible. And if we go to Litecoin, all the momentum is to the downside on this point. So cryptos are a sell. They're a clear sell here. So let's jump over into the Forex currencies. Let's take a look at dollar first. Now the dollar was rated as a 0 by Ankit yesterday, and you can see that we've started to perk up. We have a 4-hour chart here, so over the last 12 hours, we've now started to move higher. If we take a look at resistance lines here, there's resistance right up here in this area. Now, we are looking at the US dollar basket. We're not looking at the dollar against anything else. We'll take a look at individual currencies here. But you can see that right here, right now, there's a lot of momentum coming up to this resistance area. This isn't a ton of room for more upside. I would have loved to have seen this dollar be breaking out of this line. But for right here, right now, if you had to play dollar, you've got to play it on the long side. Now, the yen was our favorite trade for the week. We had it short. And on Sunday, Monday, it was very, very weak. We're starting to get a little bit of signs. Okay, well, maybe we're having a little bit of a bounce here. We need to be looking at some levels in here on the yen. We think the yen is likely to bounce up to this level before it turns lower. Now, listen, if this equity market sells off even more than it did today, the yen is going to be the beneficiary of that. When people are looking for risk off, they typically go into the yen. So we are really hoping and waiting to see if the equity markets can recover overnight and tomorrow. The yen is a clear sell. The yen is a clear short, and we were on it earlier in the week. It was a good trade, and I think you want to get back into yen short if we get a bounce in equities tomorrow. Until then, yen is just looking to bounce up to this resistance line. Swiss franc was a currency I liked. That was my favorite currency on the week, so I paired up Swiss franc against yen. It was a decent trade. Here we are, Swiss franc looking great. And you can see here when we take a look at the Swiss franc basket against all the other 7 currencies equally weighted, we can see a really nice pattern here. This was more of an ascending triangle pattern. And here we are squeezing out at the top of that range. This is just a really, really strong pattern. So Swiss franc is still on the top of my list for a long currency over the next 24 hours. We had euro ranked as a +1, and it really didn't perform all that well. So 24 hours ago was right here. It's starting to show some signs of life. But again, we need to see some real breakouts and trending going, and we're just not seeing that in euro. But over the last 24 hours, we definitely have to downgrade euro. Look, it's basically a flat, a -1, whatever you want to call it. It's just not going anywhere. So I have no desire to trade euro over the next 24 hours. The pound said, hey, I don't want to be strong. I want to be weak. It turned down here, broke down below this base. I'm really liking pound here as a short. So you can see here, we came up here. We had a run up into this level. We sat here for days and days and days, weeks. And now we're breaking down, and now the velocity is starting to get pretty strong. For the first time, this RSI is down below 40 since really 2 weeks ago. We're really seeing some weakness here in pounds, so I do think you can be short pound. I also think you can be short Kiwi. And if you take a look at which currency right here, right now, has the most momentum to the downside, there is no question that it is Kiwi. It's got the most negative sentiment here. So short Kiwi right here, right now, I like it. We'll take a look at a couple of currency crosses on Kiwi. Let's go into the CAD. CAD has been a strong currency. We like CAD. And CAD continues to work well. We've got everything we like to see. An upward rising EMA, an upward sloping parabolic SAR. RSI is sloping higher. Maybe it's backing off a little bit, so we'll just give this a +2. But you can see when we take a look at, okay, where's the next stop here for CAD? We've got some room to run. Not a ton of room to run, but we've got some room to run, and then ultimately we're going to have some resistance up at that last major high that we set right there. So I do like CAD to the long side as well. So to go through kind of everything, we'll check on Aussie. I didn't forget about Aussie, but dollar looked like it wanted to start moving higher. CAD was moving higher and continues to move higher, so we like CAD. Swiss franc moving higher, continues to move higher. We like it. Let's see what the Aussie's doing. As we check into the Aussie, it's not doing much. We did get this low here. There's no question we've got a low, but we're not seeing any signs that we're going to bounce significantly. The EMA is trending up a tiny bit. Parabolic SAR is trending up a tiny bit. RSI was trending up, now it's starting to come down. This to me is that I don't want to figure it out. I don't need to figure it out. I've got plenty of other currencies to trade if I want to. So let's update this velocity scoreboard. We take all the cryptos we're basically basing, waiting before they went down again, and they have started their decline. So cryptos get a downgrade. We have dollar and Swiss franc. Let's bump those up. They're looking very nice to the long side here. Euro was looking sort of okay on the upside. Now it's looking sort of okay on the downside. Just forget about Euro. It's not interesting right now. The pound has said, I do want to go lower, and so has the Kiwi. So at this point, we've got some real crosses that we can play now. Where yesterday we were kind of in a wait and see, it is clear here. Swiss franc, dollar, CAD on the long side, Kiwi, pound, and yen on the short side. So let's take a look at some of those possible trades on those currency crosses. I want to start out with my favorite pair. Now again, when I say favorite, it's not the one that I personally think their flag is the coolest. It's not the one that I liked, that I traded last time that I made some money. That's not what I'm talking about when I'm talking about favorite. Let me change that by saying the highest ranked ones. What are the currencies that are showing the most momentum right now? Now, if you don't know that going through our velocity score, then what you can do is say, okay, well, look, I had dollar, CAD, and Swiss franc. Which one is the strongest out of those three? Well, guess what? It's just very easy. You just pair them up. So if you say, okay, what is stronger between dollar and CAD? You can see here that right here, right now, we actually have more of a down move in dollar CAD, meaning the dollar is weaker than the CAD. Now, yes, over the last 12 hours, we're getting a bounce here, but the overall trend is more down than up here. So I'd have to rank CAD above the dollar. Here's the question though. Is the CAD better than the Swiss franc? And you can see here over the past week, it's been about the same thing. I mean, there is really no movement here in this whole range here. It's just flat. It's just flat. So you cannot say that one's better than the other. So look, right here, right now, it's saying that CAD is slightly stronger. RSI is moving up. Parabolic SAR is moving up, but just ever so slightly. But if I had to rank them 1, 2, 3, it's CAD, Swiss franc, and it is dollar. Now on the short side, I had three currencies as well. I had Kiwi, pound, and I had yen. We can do the same thing here. Let's pair up Kiwi yen. So over the past couple days, let's see, it's been mostly flat. We're starting to get a little bit of turn down here that says, okay, Kiwi over the last 12 hours has been weaker than the yen. I like this nice little turn here. It's a little bit early to just come out and say that, yes, the Kiwi is weaker than the yen. Let's take a look at the pound compared to the yen. Boy, it kind of looks the same way. So we've got currencies that are kind of doing the same thing, but let's pair up pound against Kiwi. And you can see here, over the past couple candles here, we're definitely starting to see pound outperform Kiwi. If I had to rank, okay, which one is the weakest, I would go with Kiwi. So here is the pair, Kiwi CAD. This is my favorite pair. Look, I don't care about this pair. I have no personal feelings towards it. I'm not in love with it. I don't even care. So what I'm saying is it's my favorite trade because it ranks the highest. Right now it's showing the most negative correlation. We are at a pretty key support level here. We're at a pretty key support level here. So for me, I'm looking at this saying, okay, we are a little bit stretched. We're away from our moving averages. Everything's very bearish here. All I'm waiting for is a little bit of a bounce, a little bit of a base. That's absolutely what I'm waiting for. I am not looking to enter after, this is like a full day and a half of selling. I want to see a little bit of a break, a little bit of relief. If I could get a bounce, up to, even up to this like 80-80 area. This 80-80 area would be a great place to look to enter short. We'll probably get more of a base going sideways. And if that's the case, then I want to open up a new position short right at 80.25. 80.25 will be the entry here on a short on Kiwi CAD. So this is the number one trade I'm looking at. Kiwi CAD short off of a bounce or a base. It would not surprise me at all if we got a little bit of a bounce in the Asian and European session, only to give it all up in the US session tomorrow. That is my number one currency trade for the next 24 hours. Let's take a look at some of the others. So let's take a look at something like pound Swiss franc. So pound was one of my weaker ones, Swiss franc one of my stronger ones. And you can see here, everything looks really conducive to this trade. We just broke below this little base that we had been forming. There's nothing but good things to say about this trade. If someone says, hey, Rob, I don't want to wait around for Kiwi CAD to develop because this one's going right here, right now, I can absolutely support this one. If we take a look at this, again, entering here, just a question of where's our risk, where's our reward, where's our target. Looking to find a target here on this, boy, there's nothing back in time to find a target on this. This thing is definitely fallen through. So use your Fibonacci's to find your targets, but buy stop on this one, 180.45. 180.45 is going to be the stop on this one. And again, snap your Fibonacci's to find a decent ratio. Make sure you're at 2-to-1. That's all I've got for you. There's some other pairs that you can take a look at, but I do think the yen is going to get a little bit of a bid overnight. So I'm not looking at short yen. If we have a significant bounce tomorrow in equities, I'm absolutely going to switch over to short yen. But right now, I like short Kiwi and short pound. Let's wrap this up. We had a nasty turn in equities today. We need a bounce. If there is not a bounce, then we are going to shift over to risk-off trading, where we are looking at long dollar, long yen, and long Swiss franc. So two of those are already performing well, dollar and Swiss franc. Yen probably comes along for the ride, and we want to be short the weakest things like pound and Kiwi. That's going to be the trades we shift over to. But until then, I think you take a look at kind of the things we talked about today, which are really fairly similar to that. Thanks for joining me. Everyone take care, and let's go make some pips. Goodbye, everybody.